It looks like a simple ice axe boot. This one once climbed the highest peak in North America. The item on display is a climbing axe that belonged to the guest's great-grandfather, Harry Karstens. Karstens served as the first superintendent of Denali National Park from 1921 to 1928. He was also the guide and climbing leader of the first successful ascent of Denali in 1913. The team reached the summit on the 7th of June, 1913, via the northeast ridge that Karstens himself pioneered now, known as Karstens Ridge.
It's the tallest mountain in North America.
It is the tallest mountain in North America. It was just remeasured at 20,310 feet.
Karstens' ice axe is one of only 4 used on that expedition and is the sole surviving tool from that historic ascent.
Stuck went down to a local blacksmith and he asked them to make him something. Came back, found 4 of these things cut out of old wood chopping axes. Robert Tatum lost his in the McKinley River when he fell backwards with a heavy pack. Walter picked him up and carried him out. Harper's and Stuck's disappeared. This is the only one we know that exists today.
The axe features a wooden shaft and a forged metal head, typical of early 20th century mountaineering gear. It shows wear consistent with grueling high-altitude service, step cutting, trail breaking on glaciers, and prolonged exposure to extreme conditions. Given the rarity and historical significance of Harry Karstens' axe, it is estimated to be worth
$20,000.
Oh, no, that's a little bit too much.
You sure?
Now I gotta lock it up.
It began as a story told in stone now. It stands as one of the finest expressions of Haida artistry from its time. The carving exhibited on the show was purchased in the 1920s by the guest's grandfather.
He found it in a store while he was working up in Canada back then. He was in the import-export business, and this was left in a store by someone who had commissioned it out and never picked it up.
It is a totem pole model carved from Argillite, soft black stone found only in the Queen Charlotte Islands, now known as Haida Argillite. The carving was created circa 1890 by a master sculptor from the circle of the renowned Haida artist Charles Edenshaw. Edenshaw, a celebrated artist from Haida Argillite in British Columbia, was known for his exceptional wood carvings, jewelry, and paintings. This piece represents both cultural symbolism and trading ingenuity rooted in Haida village life, but carved in Argillite to meet the growing demand from European and American visitors.
It's possible this came from a village, Tanu, and the pole that it's replicating was easy to enter house.
At the top of the Argillite totem pole is a raven, wings outstretched, clasping a humanoid figure within them. Below the raven is a fierce grizzly bear, featuring bone-inlay teeth, wings, and a figure emerging from its belly. Further down the pole is a wolf figure, with a human form positioned upside down coming out of the wolf. The base of the totem features another raven with outstretched wings and the imagery of a killer whale, flanked by pectoral fins. This remarkable piece reflects the final, authentic tradition of 19th century Haida Argillite carving, and in today's market, it is estimated to be worth
would approach $100,000.
Oh, okay. Really?
Really?
Way off.
The guest presented a collection of documents he inherited from his wife's family, descendants of Stephen Decatur.
I was given them as I was a naval officer at the time. Having served on U.S. Navy ships, Stephen Decatur is a name that looms large in U.S. history, U.S. naval history, and so having this connection to him is very special to me.
Decatur was one of the earliest and most revered heroes of the young U.S. Navy, gaining fame during the War of 1812 before his tragic death in a duel. These papers trace his meteoric rise during the Quasi-War with France and the First Barbary War, culminating just after his daring raid to destroy the USS Philadelphia.
The plans to punish the Tripolitan pirates are out the window, but luckily, about this time, Decatur captures a catch-rigged Tripolitan vessel. They launch this raid disguised as locals, the ones that were visible on deck, and subdue the pirates that are on board. Killed, I think, about 20 of them, drove a bunch of them away. Decatur's the last one off. He leaps into the rigging of the escape vessel, and they start leaving. Meanwhile, everybody in the harbor is shooting at them.
They don't just record military ranks, they chart the ascent of one of early America's most fearless naval commanders. One of the documents is Decatur's Midshipman's Warrant, dated 1798 and signed by President John Adams. President Adams, a founding father, served as the second President of the United States from 1797 to 1801. Also included is Decatur's Lieutenant's Commission from 1799, likewise signed by President Adams. The final document is his commission as captain, issued in 1804 and signed by President Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson, another founding father, served as the third President of the United States from 1801 to 1809. These documents hail from a formative period of U.S. naval history, when commissions were limited and the young Navy was just beginning to assert itself, making this collection exceptionally rare and historically significant.
It's unusual in this time period to find this material because there simply were not that many commissioned naval officers. But he had a sponsor, John Barry, Revolutionary War hero.
Given their rarity, provenance, and the presence of original presidential signatures, the fair market value of this collection would be
in the range of $150,000 to $200,000.
Wow.
Exhibited is a painting by Magnus Colcord Heurlin, commissioned by the guest's grandfather in 1964.
They were living in Fairbanks, and they took the family on a drive down to Esther, where Rusty lived and worked. My dad was about 10 or 11 back then. He remembers faintly, but my grandfather went in a separate room with Rusty and discussed what kind of painting he wanted, and then they left, and about 3 months later, they had this nice painting delivered to their home.
Heurlin was a Swedish-American artist who settled near Fairbanks after World War II and became Alaska's premier painter of landscapes and native life. By the 1960s, he was widely commissioned for large-scale public and private works and was celebrated for his pastel palette and luminous skies. The medium is oil on canvas, and the painting is signed by the artist in the lower right corner. It depicts a tranquil Alaskan scene featuring a snow-covered tundra, a dog sled, and the northern lights. Rendered in soft tonal blues and gentle light, the painting captures a meditative stillness. More than half a century later, it remains in pristine condition and still retains its original frame. A 1964 Heurlin with a clear Alaskan subject, original signature, excellent condition, and original frame is a highly collectible piece. Given its condition and desirability, this painting would command an auction price of,
I think maybe around $75,000.
Okay. Wow. Was not expecting that. That's quite astounding.
Today's guest showcases a remarkable blanket that has been in her family for generations.
My great-grandmother got it in Skagway in the 20s. My mother said it was a wedding gift, and my father said it was purchased from a native lady.
This piece originates from the Alaskan Tlingit Chilkat tradition and was crafted from mountain goat hair and spun cedar bark, materials valued for their strength and flexibility. It features crest-like weavings that carry deep cultural meaning within Chilkat society.
That's what these are. People who would know what these mean from that tribe would recognize, oh yeah, this is so-and-so's family.
The symmetrical layout presents a prominent central crest, flanked by side panels and long wool fringes that come to life during ceremonial dances. Examining the colors, particularly the blue, suggests the use of commercial dyes, which have gently faded over time.
And it's had a little light fading, so if you flip it over, that's the original color.
It's beautiful.
So this was very bright when it was created.
Known as a nakin, or dance robe, this blanket would have been worn by high-ranking individuals during potlatches, dances, and other public ceremonies. Traditionally, male artists designed the pattern boards, while women skillfully executed the complex weaving based on those designs. Notably, the weaving technique used to create this piece is the only known method capable of producing the distinctive curvilinear forms seen here. This blanket was made circa, and it holds exceptional cultural, artistic, and ceremonial significance. At auction, even with some fading to the dye, this Chilkat blanket is estimated to be worth
Probably $25,000 to $30,000.
Wow.
Showcased is a painting by William Herbert Dunton, inherited by the guest from his grandfather.
Gila wilderness, I think, last grizzly bear. My grandfather died in the early 90s. My parents had it since then, and then I was just back east from my dad's memorial, and my mom gave it to us, and we carried it back on the plane with us.
Dunton was an American artist and a founding member of the Taos Society of Artists. The subject of this painting is Ben Lilly, the legendary big game hunter and guide for President Theodore Roosevelt. In October 1907, President Roosevelt hired Lilly as his chief guide for a well-known black bear hunt in the canebrakes of northeastern Louisiana, an expedition Roosevelt later wrote about. Lilly was known for tracking predators across state lines, surviving near-starvation conditions, and living as a true frontiersman well into his 70s.
He's like this mix of John Muir and Rambo. I mean, he is killing bears and cougars with a knife. From the reading I've done about Lilly, he didn't smoke, he didn't drink.
On the back of the painting is a label from a frame shop in Cincinnati where it was sold, along with an intriguing inscription.
It says, "Portrait sketch Lilly, big game hunter and scout, age 70 years, by W. Buck Dunton, Taos, New Mexico."
Based on that inscription, the painting is dated to circa 1925 and bears the artist's signature in the lower left corner. Despite its modest size, the portrait features vivid colors, dynamic brushwork, and sculptural depth. Executed in oil on canvas, the painting has retained its vibrancy even after nearly a century. At auction, this William Herbert Dunton oil painting of Ben Lilly would easily be worth...
Conservatively, I would say it's worth about $12,000 to $18,000.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad it's not worth more than that.
What we have here is the 1,990 first-place championship trophy for the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race, won by Susan Butcher, the guest's wife. Butcher was an American dog musher, best known as the second woman to win the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race. Interestingly, Butcher and her husband met in 1981 while out on the Iditarod Trail when they both got caught in a snowstorm.
81. Susan was born in Cambridge, Mass, and she always loved dogs. It was her passion, and so she became a dog walker. And because she loved it so much, her mother bought her a sled, and then they moved up to Maine, where her grandmother lived, and then got one dog, and then moved to Colorado, where her father was, and started mushing in the mountains there. And thought it was great, but it wasn't wild enough for her.
In March 1990, she won her fourth Iditarod, tying the existing record with a time of 11 days, 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 23 seconds, earning a $50,000 purse. Her victories in 1986, 1,987, 1,988, and 1,990 cemented her status as one of the most accomplished mushers in the race's history. This trophy stands as a powerful symbol of a female pioneer in a traditionally male-dominated sport, highlighting Butcher's groundbreaking success.
Kind of an icon of that experience. She was representing the ability of women to compete on an equal level.
As her final Iditarod victory, it holds particular significance, marking the culmination of her racing career and enduring legacy. Historically important to the story of the Alaskan sled dog race, this trophy is exceptionally rare as the last one Butcher ever earned. An appropriate insurance value for this rare 1,990 first-place championship trophy would be
of $100,000 on this trophy.
No way. No way. Well, give me the insurance company's name.
Showcased on the show is a Bob Ross painting that the guest had hanging on the wall of her home for many years.
The Kenai Peninsula had a 7.1 earthquake.
Wow.
And we had a set of moose horns hanging above our bed. And after the earthquake, we decided that we're taking that down. The painting came out of the closet and we hung it up.
Bob Ross was an American painter and art instructor, best known for creating and hosting The Joy of Painting, an instructional television program that aired from 1983 to 1994 on PBS in the United States. Ross created this painting using the wet-on-wet technique, a method he popularized to complete landscapes in under 30 minutes.
And just add on layer without letting it dry. It allows you to make a painting really quickly, and as Bob Ross did on his show, under half an hour you could have an incomplete painting.
The medium is oil on canvas, and it is signed by the artist in the lower left corner. This particular work is dated 1979, before Ross rose to television fame, which makes it especially rare on the open market, as most later works are held by Bob Ross Inc. The subject of the painting is the Aurora Borealis, adding a mystical, dynamic element that makes the composition both ethereal and visually striking. It features a frozen body of water, rendered with smooth horizontal brush strokes using a palette knife or fan brush to convey icy texture and reflected light. This imagery evokes the Alaskan wilderness, which reflects Ross's personal experience as a U.S. Air Force Master Sergeant stationed in Alaska. Early Ross works like this one tend to be more detailed and personal than the quick demonstration paintings he produced for television. In an auction, this pre-television era Bob Ross oil painting on canvas would be estimated to sell for
Hitting $25,000, maybe even $30,000, $15,000 to $20,000.
Wow.
The item on display is an Iditarod race sled, representing a pioneering moment in Alaska's history and a tribute to its historic dog sled trail. This sled was used in the first Iditarod race, which began in 1973 with the goal of getting the Iditarod Trail recognized as part of the National Historic Trail System. The inaugural race was notably rough, and informal teams traversed unplowed terrain, camped nightly, and mushers often broke trail using snowshoes. Dog care and trail conditions were primitive by today's standards. There was only one veterinarian for the entire race. Dog quality varied widely, and most gear was handmade or improvised.
The dogs are born to it. They were very well furred back then, especially.
How'd you know when the dogs were tired?
You just get to know your dogs so well. You know pretty much what they can take. And I would stop every hour on the hour to check their feet. And then about every 3 hours, I'd give them a snack and a good meal at the end of the run.
The sled was built for endurance and trail breaking. At the time, sleds were long, sturdy freight sleds, typically crafted from locally sourced hardwoods. Interestingly, the guest and his friends built this sled themselves, using hockey sticks for the stanchions and hickory for the rest of the structure.
And I got 3 friends going, and they worked day and night for 3 days and nights without going to sleep to finish it in time for the race. It got me 1,000 miles.
It is heavy and robust, designed to carry both supplies and gear across the grueling 1,000-mile route. Handmade and custom-built, this sled reflects both adaptive ingenuity and the practical demands of early long-distance mushing. In an auction, this rare handmade sled from the first Iditarod race would be estimated to be worth
I would insure it for at least $40,000.
Okay, wow. That's impressive.
Showcased as an item purchased by the guest at an auction 3 years ago. This is a belt buckle crafted from 5 troy ounces of Alaskan gold, used for both the nuggets and the base.
Even though it looks like they're all just laid in there, it's a lot of work and labor.
Along the edge of the buckle is a twisted wire embellishment, adding to the piece's overall allure. Near the center is an inlay of mastodon tusk, which at first glance resembles wood. Surrounding the tusk is a finely crafted and riveted frame, showcasing the maker's skill. Set into the center of the mastodon tusk are 5 carats of diamonds arranged in the shape of Alaska, forming a striking silhouette of the state. This belt buckle was likely created during or shortly after Alaska's 1970s oil boom and pipeline era, time when frontier excess and regional pride were often expressed through bold, opulent accessories. Few buckles combine Alaskan gold nuggets, diamonds, and fossilized ivory in a single piece, making this example particularly rare and desirable. Given its uniqueness and the quality of materials, an appropriate insurance value for this gold belt buckle would be
like this could be $20,000 to $40,000.
Mm-hmm. That's a little more than I was thinking.
You got that gleam in your eye. And you know, that's what gold does to people.
Today's guest presented on the show a wristwatch that was given to her father by the president of the University of Alaska system in 1972. The watch is a Rolex Oyster Cosmograph model that marks the transition to screw-down pushers and is one of the earliest Ref 6,263. 6,260 seconds, Daytonas. It was manufactured in 1969 and features a 2-button, 3-register chronograph. The watch still has its original riveted oyster bracelet, which is noticeably lighter than the bracelets on later models. The bracelet is complete with a flip-lock clasp bearing the Rolex Coronet logo. Additionally, the watch is crafted from stainless steel and has a water-resistant oyster case back. One of its standout features is the outer black bezel used for tachymeter readings. Many years ago, the guest had the watch serviced, but fortunately, it retains its original components, including its reverse panda dial. In this condition, this Rolex timepiece would command an auction price of
right now we'll bring $85,000 to $95,000.
Okay.
Before film could speak, it needed something to speak through, like this rare Vitaphone disc tied to a seismic cinematic moment. The guest acquired this piece from her father, who was involved in the early days of talking pictures. This is an original Vitaphone shellac disc.
George Groves worked under my father when they were developing the process, and he was visiting us in England, and my dad asked him to bring me something of Al Jolson.
Part of the synchronized soundtrack for The Jazz Singer, the first feature-length Hollywood talkie. The Jazz Singer was the groundbreaking film that marked the end of the silent era and ushered in the widespread adoption of sound in cinema. The disc contains a segment in which Al Jolson plays the piano and sings Blue Skies, famously interjecting, "Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet."
And then he goes into this, and the crowd is just shocked because this is something they didn't know was coming. This was the first talkie.
Al Jolson was a monumental figure in early 20th century American entertainment singer, stage and film star, and a pioneer in popularizing talking pictures. Produced by Warner Brothers RCA Victor, the disc contains isolated reel sound. Original Vitaphone discs held only a few minutes per side and had to be manually synchronized with the film reel. This particular disc is marked with a sample label used by projectionists during premiere showings to help cue the audio with the film.
On October 6th, 1927, and then unfortunately, Sam Warner died of pneumonia the day before the premiere.
Yes.
So we see that it's a sample record. It would be somewhere in the process of when they started to work on this new technology, leading somewhere up until before then they were to print the albums that were.
Few original Vitaphone discs survive, especially from the Jazz Singer making, this piece exceptionally rare. In an auction, this vintage Vitaphone sample disc would undoubtedly be worth.
I'd put an insurance value on it of $25,000.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Displayed on the show is an Art Nouveau brooch, gifted to the guest by her husband's grandmother. At first glance, the appraiser noticed the hallmark on the piece, indicating it is of French origin.
We do have French marks on it. You can see a little half-stroke eagle head on the top of the pin. Yes. Along the pin stem. And every separable part on this has a French eagle mark. We'll find it on the C-clasp.
Gotcha.
This Art Nouveau brooch was crafted from 18-karat gold and bears the signature of the artist who decorated it, Lucien Hertz. Hertz was a prominent French émailleur décorateur and designer, celebrated for his exceptional enamel work and contributions to both the Art Nouveau and early Art Deco movements. Starting in 1893, Hertz served as a designer for the esteemed Maison Boucheron, creating ornamental objects, jewelry, and luxurious decorative pieces. He was a master of layering enamel, gold, and mixed materials into decorative art that bridged the elegance of Art Nouveau with the emerging modernity of Art Deco.
He was multi-talented. He could work in classical forms. He could work with insects. He could work in Japanism. He was very well respected in his time. He won the gold medal.
This brooch is adorned with vivid plique, jour enamel, and intricate gold carving, rendered in a floral or portrait miniature motif that reflects the natural beauty of the era. Although this piece was designed by Hertz, it remains uncertain under which company he produced it. At auction, this French Art Nouveau brooch with its artistry and provenance would be worth
of between $30,000 and $40,000.
Wow. I was not expecting that. I thought it would be, you know, maybe $1,000 or $2. Wow. I'm so shocked. That's amazing.